Hi, I'm Kat, I play Sims and I built an orange tiny house in Sulani. I decided this wasn't going to be a permanent fixture, it was supposed to be sort of a holiday rental, but almost like a tent underneath a solid roof. So I made a very basic boxy shape and then I brought out an overhang on the roof so that I could prop it up with columns. I used quite an orange wood tone from Island Living, but it still wasn't quite as vibrant as I would have wanted. I gave the building two little sort of wings with separate roof pieces of their own and pulled out the eaves to look as long as the others, and I gave those columns as well. I put this really bright orange metal texture from Island Living on there and then gave it orange eaves as well. And I decided the building was going to be the canvas from Adventure Awaits. So the only thing that I could get in that was a sort of beige tone. I couldn't get a proper orange, but I liked the way it looked and it fit the vibe I was going for. I sealed off one of the wings as a teeny tiny 2-tile bathroom, and I sealed off a bedroom area as well, but I didn't want too many walls inside because the building itself was supposed to be canvas. I started out with the cozy kitsch lights because they were bright orange, but I changed them out for desert looks because they looked a little bit more temporary, and I put a jellyfish light from Adventure Awaits in the little bathroom. I gave the whole thing the cabin flooring from Adventure Awaits as well, and then I gave it a tiny little riser at the bottom so I could give it a sort of stilt effect, but because it was so small I didn't really get the stilts. I pulled down the roof a little bit flatter so that it looked more natural on the canvas. I hadn't actually realised at this point that the wall height was taller, so it takes us quite a long time to fix that. I put some dirt tiles in with a fence from Island Living. I was intending to make it kind of a garden, but I didn't bother doing that in the end. I put up some star lights and a couple of little ground lights outside, and I decided to make the terrain texture underneath the house a sandy colour instead of the mud. While I was round the back, I did find a bit of platform that hadn't added the trim, and then I added a little front area and sort of a patio on the back. I decided I wanted an outdoor shower for this one, so I used the Island Living one. I forgot all about the columns at the back of the house and never fixed it, but I put a little Jungle Adventure pot out and a Love Struck sort of shade thing in a nice orange colour. I put a Courtyard Oasis pot on the other side, and then I added this divider from Businesses and Hobbies that had like a wickery texture. I decided to pile up some towels on the ground outside and had used Tool Mod to make them fit together. And then I added a little bottle of sun cream and some bath clutter out there as well. I scooted the shower back a little bit into the wall and moved everything around a bit until I was happy. For some reason the shower wasn't really inclined to slot up against the wall. It might have been the foundation that I put on. And then I went indoors. I added those canvas doors from Adventure Awaits again, and then on one side I cut off one tile and added it back to the bathroom on the other side, just because I didn't think it was going to function properly. With the shower being outside, I needed an extra tile between the toilet and the sink. I decided to use the outdoor retreat sink and a toilet from Island Living. I wanted everything to look basically like it could be moved if it had to be. I tried putting out one of the trees with the lights on it from the event, but it was so ugly texture-wise that I couldn't bring myself to leave it, so I took that out again. I just cluttered the bathroom, and for the mirror I used an Adventure Awaits one that looks like it is actually hung on the canvas. In the kitchen I went with just a mini fridge and some snowy escape counters because they've got shelves in them that looked a little bit more temporary, and I put in this Island Living table for the dining room, and I gave it some bright orange chairs from Love Struck. Love Struck does actually have a lot of that really bright orange that I wanted for this. I added a mailbox from Werewolves, and then I gave it a eco lifestyle dumpster in the back. I couldn't get orange in that, so I had to go with yellow, and then I just put a bit extra terrain paint in. For cooking, I decided to put in an outdoor grill. I tried the Island Living fire pit, but I didn't like the way it looked on the ground. I did get to use the bucket seats from Restoration Workshop, which I never put in anything, and then a little picnic table from Love Struck as well. And I decided to do the bedroom next. The bed was from Island Living, and I got the little cozy kitsch, what looks like a folding table for next to the bed. I added a high school years clothes rack that was a little bit more temporary looking, and then some Dream Home Decorator clothes on it. I put in a little mirror in the corner, and I put a really big vibrant orange rug on the floor as well. This one's actually from Parenthood, and I don't think I've even seen that swatch before. I considered wall art, but then I thought you wouldn't really be hanging anything on the inside of a tent, so I just put some extra windows in instead to fill the blank walls. I grabbed a plant for outside the door from Enchanted by Nature and an island living one in a pot for inside, but for the most part I wasn't really going to be decorating a lot. I put in a little table from Riviera Retreat that's kind of wickery and a tiny little TV on top of it, and then just a little sofa from Courtyard Oasis. Everything was supposed to look sort of like it was either wicker or wood and it could be moved as needed. I used a little outdoor retreat side table to put some books on because they've got some really good orange wood tones, and I added the little canvas rug in the sitting room as well that's kind of like a quilt. I decided to put half walls around the bedroom instead, so I changed that. The idea was that it was supposed to sort of look like a temporary fixture that you could just put up around it, and then I put in the outdoor retreat game table and some Love Struck chairs again in the orange. I added the carver bowl from Island Living to the kitchen, and then I put out a little meditation stool outside, but I changed it for the round one because it had a slightly better colour. I put some little round planters out there as well, and then I decided to put in one of the beach towels in the back, so I grabbed this one with a weird flame print. I considered putting in a swing set, but I hadn't really set the place up for kids, so I put in a shark pond instead because that is the natural, obvious next step. I just put some terrain paint around that, and then I started landscaping a little bit, mostly with different sizes of palm trees, just around the edges of the house. Some tall ones towards the back and the sides, and then a little larger one to cover the sort of front area because it seemed very bare. And I used my favourite shrub from Island Living as well and just filled as many spaces with that as possible. I put in some jungle adventure plants, lots of low lion stuff. I used the agave and the aloe, and then I decided to bring in some of the purple from around the shark pond. So there was another Island Living low lion shrub for that. And then I put some bright orange ones in from Island Living to fit the colour scheme again. I did end up changing the colour of the flowers on the ground and the shark pond, and I realised I hadn't left any room to get to the outdoor shower area, so I did have to actually make a little gap in the fence, and I put in a pea bush as well just for the fun of it. I filled a couple of little gaps that looked quite empty with the plants, and then I finally realised that the wall was too high and brought it down a little bit to normal height, so I had to bring the columns down to match and some of the windows. And with that I was done, so enjoy the screenshots. Please consider a like and subscribe.